Richard Dawkins was born on 26th of March 1941 in Nairobi, Kenya, as the son of Jean-Marie Vivian and Clinton John Dawkins. His father was an agricultural civil servant in the British colonial service in Kenya. So he spent his early life in the country's wilderness observing the different types of animals and their behavior. In 1949, when Dawkins was 8, the family went to England. He was raised as a Christian and he embraced Christianity until halfway through his teenage years, at which point he concluded that the theory of evolution alone was a better explanation for life's complexity and ceased believing in God. Both of his parents were interested in natural sciences and they answered Dawkins' questions in scientific terms. Dawkins describes his childhood as a normal Anglican upbringing. In his early years, Richard Dawkins attended an English public school with the Church of England ethos, where he was in Loudmanor House. Still being in school, he read Bernard Russell's book, Why I'm Not a Christian, for the first time, and it was one of the first more serious steps towards exploring his belief. After school, he entered Balliol College, University of Oxford, where he received a bachelor degree in zoology and graduated with second-class honors. He remained at Oxford, earning his master and doctorate degree in zoology with help of famous ethnologists, what led him to become an assistant professor of zoology. His professor was a pioneer in the study of animal behavior, particularly in the areas of instinct, learning, and choice. Dawkins' research in his period concerned models of animal decision-making. He then returned to Oxford to lecture in zoology in the 1970s. Dawkins has sat on judging panels for awards as diverse as the Royal Society's Faraday Award and the British Academy Television Awards, and has been president of the Biological Sciences section of the British Association for the Advancement of Science. In September 2008, he retired from his professorship, announcing plans to write a book aimed at youngsters, in which he will warn them against believing in anti-scientific fairy tales.
As regards his work, it is very extensive, and it is thanks to many of his books and documentaries that he became well known to the general public. His first book, The Selfish Gene, published in 1976, explained his view on evolution, which is gene-centered, meaning that he believes natural selection takes place at the genetic level rather than at the individual level, and that genes use living bodies to assure their own survival. In 1987, he won the Royal Society of Literature Award with the publishing of The Blind Watchmaker. Among all its documentaries, we can remember his most famous one, The Root of All Evil, also known as The God Delusion, in which Dawkins has a harsh and controversial message to transmit. Mankind would be better off without faith or belief in God, as science is the only real way to understand the world. In 2006, he launched the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science, of which the aim was to encourage atheism and science. Moreover, the next year, he also launched the Earth Campaign in order to reach more atheists.
Richard Dawkins has received several awards and degrees for his contribution to science. He has even topped the Prospect magazine's 2004 list of the top 100 public British intellectuals. However, it is often argued that the language and the tone of Dawkins' speech is very harsh. He tends to have a very unpleasant tone of discussion, which is sometimes abusive too. This way of speaking generally makes the person opposite him more aggressive, leaving no room for a dialogue. His anti-religion talks and works across all platforms has always faced a lot of opposition, not only from religious people, but also from people of his own science community. A study done in 2016 suggests that British scientists seem mostly to dislike him, with some arguing that he misinterprets science and misleads the public. Some also think that he overestimates the borders of science and what science can examine. One of the scientists who has openly condemned the works of Dawkins is Alistair McGrath. McGrath is a theologist and scientist and a priest. A former atheist, he has highly criticized Dawkins, calling him embarrassingly ignorant of Christian theology. He has also written a book called The Dawkins Delusion, published in 2007 as a response to Dawkins' The God's Delusion. The two also had a public debate on this topic.
Even though we believe this is the best way of making sense of things, we cannot actually prove this is the case. And therefore, although I believe faith is rational in the sense that it gives the best possible case it can give, there is a point at which it goes beyond the evidence. And it's at that point, I think, that your concern that it might be irrational, I think, comes into play.
I suppose I would say that at that point where it goes beyond the evidence, that's when it becomes faith. And before that, it isn't faith at all. It's using evidence in the proper way that evidence should be.
Dawkins both takes and emits great heat, but there's no sign of imminent disintegration. Even after facing backlash and opposition from majority of the people, he still continues his fight against religion.